Welcome everybody again to our Fall College and Financial Aid Information Night. And what we're going to do is talk a little bit about two different subjects today. We're going to talk about the ACT exam that the state of Illinois has switched to for this 24-25 school year. And then we're going to shift and talk about the financial aid process and how that process takes place and what we as a school and as a community can do to help our students prepare for that. So without further ado, I am going to share our presentation. Bear with me. And here we go. All right. So I would like to introduce first Dr. Weck to the presentation, and he has a few words to share with all of us.
Thank you, Larissa. I just want to say this is such an exciting time for all of us as we get a chance to work together with you and your family to set your child up for success after high school. So this is so important for all of us to just kind of work together to make sure that we set them up to be successful. I first want to say thank you to Larissa for organizing this and setting this all up. This is very important for our community. Also for Anna, Katrina, Lori, Crystal, and Bianca for all being here to share their expertise and to help guide our students on their path after high school. Just there's a few points for me to talk about, and then I'll turn it back over to Larissa. First off, we got the all academic departments. It's really important to know that all of our departments play a key role in preparing our students for success on standardized testing. It's not just the math and English and science, but everyone contributes to the overall growth of our students and really setting them up for success. We also have test prep opportunities, and that's both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So a lot of our teachers have done the alignment of the curriculum and the skills to really set them up for success based on the local assessments. But then after school and during the ASAP time, our teachers get together to really dig in deep to give our students the best opportunities to close that learning gap and to really grow as learners so that they're better prepared for the standardized tests. And then also we have the college and career planning. You know, our counselors do a phenomenal job in terms of knowing our students and then continuing to work with them this year to ensure that they're prepared for life after high school. So that process begins the moment that they come onto our campus, and our counselors really, they love our students and they do everything they can to help them shoot for high goals and dream big to really set them up for success but in getting there. So I'm just really proud of our entire team. And I know that our students are loved and that we are going to do everything we can to help them achieve all the goals that they set forth for themselves. So I'm going to turn it back over to Larissa, but I really want to say thank you to all of our families for being here tonight. And this really shows the dedication and commitment to them as young people and also as post high school experiences as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Weck. I appreciate you sharing those words with everybody in our community because I want to echo that. Our community plays such an important role in shaping the lives of our students, and we want to make sure that we continue reiterating the fact that we are here to support them, and that's our primary objective.
Thank you.
Slideshow. So the big change that took place this school year is the change from the SAT exam to the ACT exam. It is a monumental change in that the contract was not renewed through the College Board, and it has now been renewed through the ACT organization by the Illinois State Board of Education. So that is a big change. It still measures the accountability for different schools, and it also helps students prepare for their post-high school plans because those assessments are a key piece in helping students determine where they might find a good fit for an institution, for a program after high school. It is also a graduation requirement in the state of Illinois, the ACT this year, in the same exact way that it was a graduation requirement for students in previous years to take the SAT exam. Testing is so important. We want to make sure that our students are prepared for testing because we know what a critical role that plays in planning out their future. It links to their college plans, it links to their career plans. So regardless of what our students are thinking about doing as part of their post-secondary plans, whether it's a four-year university, a two-year university, if they're planning on going into the trades, working, That standardized testing experience is very key in helping them determine what might be a good fit for them down the road. At Westmont High School, we are so happy to have the Maya Learning platform. It is our college and career platform. We're on our third year right now in working with that program. The program we had previously did not do all of the wonderful things that Maya Learning has. All of our students have access to this program since the beginning of their high school experience. So our freshmen through seniors have access to this program, and they can use it to research careers, research colleges, and quite honestly, filter out a lot of different factors that they might be considering as they move through this process. They have an opportunity to save different career interests they have. They have an opportunity to then favorite some of the colleges that they would consider prospective colleges. When students move into their senior year, right now we're working in our counseling department with every single senior. We want to make sure that seniors have a chance to then list out where are they actually applying this school year. So our focus through the counseling department is always to help our seniors first, and then we move through our meetings with remainder of students throughout the school year, again, utilizing this platform. This is a very brief example here on the right-hand screen of what Maya Learning can do. This resource allows our students at all grade levels to research different universities by searching out location, type of school, what the selectivity is. And if you'll notice at the bottom, there is always an option for students to select what type of SAT scores and ACT scores fit in within the range of where they're scoring. So after our students take their practice tests at Westmont High School, which we'll talk about throughout this presentation, they have an understanding of where they fall on that continuum and what kind of schools they might want to search for. So they have a realistic idea of what might be a good fit for them. Within the Maya Learning system, we talk a lot about what is a likely school, a target school, and then a reach school for students. And those are three varying levels of whether or not a student has likelihood of being accepted into a college based on the demographics of previous school years applicants as well as students who were accepted. And the Maya Learning program, it does that. It captures all of it and it organizes it for students in a very, very concise and clear way. The Maya Learning program is accessible to all of our students, like I mentioned, through mayalearning.com. It's a single sign-on, so students don't have to remember a password. They just click on sign in with Google if they are already logged into their CUSD 201 account, and they have access to this program. This is an example of what type of data comes up then once they start searching for a university within the greater United States of America. There are over 6,300 schools that are listed within the Maya Learning program. I just picked on the U of I schools, the University of Illinois at Chicago, University of Illinois Springfield, and the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign as examples, where students could then compare and contrast all of these different factors. Testing, as you'll notice, is a huge factor in what colleges and universities are looking for. It's not the number one factor in this process, but it absolutely is a very important factor. The number one factor that colleges are looking for is the classes that students have taken in high school. Secondly, it's their grades and their GPA. Those are the most important factors. And then it switches to colleges looking at test scores, students' extracurricular activities. Those are factors to consider from an admissions perspective. But again, these are all of the things that we want our students to consider. Students in their senior year are already immersed in this. They've been working on this with us for the last 3.5 years. And they have a plan in place right now in working with us through our individual appointments that we've already had with every single senior at Westmont High School. Our juniors are strongly encouraged to take advantage of this opportunity through Maya Learning and start exploring more and more colleges and figuring out what is potentially a good fit for them based on those practice scores that they have received from the test that they took at Westmont High School. Coming up this Saturday, I really want to highlight the NACAC College Fair. This is held at the Navy Pier this school year for the past few years. If those of you remember who maybe have attended as well, it's been at the McCormick Place. But this is an amazing opportunity for students to explore different schools, talk to college admission reps, and really get that firsthand knowledge from a lot of different colleges all in one central location. The University of Hawaii Honolulu comes out to this event all the time, and it's, just representative of the fact of how many different schools come out from throughout the United States of America. In order to attend, students need to visit nacacattend.org, which is listed on the screen. They need to register. They'll be given a barcode, and then when they arrive at Navy Pier, they will be able to then get signed in every single time that they are meeting with a college or university rep, so that they know that there is some demonstrated interest. Those schools will know that that student is interested in their school and then can follow up and share more information. We really do encourage all students to attend these types of college fairs. It's never, ever too early to start. From freshman year onward, it's a great opportunity to start that college exploration process. At Westmont High School, the state of Illinois ACT dates are listed here. We're going to have all of our freshmen take the state assessment on April 9th. April 16th will be the assessment for sophomores, and then April 23rd will be the ACT exam for all of our juniors. That's the state accountability assessment, and it gives students an ACT score that they can then share out with colleges and universities of their choice. The days are a little bit different because there's so much testing that happens in the month of April. We want to maximize the time that our students are also in classes. On April 9th, we will have a regular school day. It'll be a regular PLC day where freshmen will test. We will have all of the bells turned off. Of course, we want to have the most beneficial testing environment for them, but this is something that, again, we want to have the rest of our students attending their classes. On April 16th, our sophomores will test. So the same thing will be true. We'll have the testing continue throughout the school as the other students attend their classes. On April 23rd, all of our juniors will test. And since this is such a critical test, this is the test, the ACT, that then can be shared out with colleges and universities, we want to make sure that we do everything we possibly can to give our juniors the opportunity to be as successful as possible. In doing so, we want to make sure that our freshmen and sophomores also have another opportunity to, again, do something educational. We have arranged through Westmont High School a school-sponsored field trip this school year to the Museum and Science and Industry, in the same way that last school year students attended the field museum field trip. So this is something that we're doing on that day, again, to give students in the junior class an opportunity to test in the best way possible, as well as provide that educational opportunity for students in the freshman, sophomore class. Our seniors on this day will be strongly, strongly encouraged to visit their prospective colleges. May 1st is the decision day from many schools, and we want to make sure that prior to our seniors making a decision about their future plans, they have an opportunity to make one or two additional visits if they're still stuck between deciding about their prospective college. So this is going to be the structure of that month of April, again, with the goal of making sure that our seniors, juniors, freshmen, sophomores, everybody has the best opportunity to take their exam in a very successful way. The exams will be online. They are going to be virtual. So prior to all of these testing days, we want to make sure that we encourage our students, and we will over and over again, have their Chromebooks and have them fully charged on testing day. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to Anna Jakubowski, who is going to talk a little bit about the structure of the ACT.
Hello, I am Anna. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the test is made up of. So for juniors, there are four subtests and an essay portion. The English test is the longest one. It's 75 questions in 45 minutes, which mainly they're mostly punctuation questions, punctuation and grammar. So they go pretty quick. So we look at 75 questions, you get pretty defeated pretty quickly, but that's the whole purpose of all the test prep that we do so that kids gain a little bit of confidence going into this. So right now they might be a little bit apprehensive about what's to come, but we're going to prepare them. Math is 1 minute a question, 60 questions, 60 minutes. Reading, 40 questions, 35 minutes, and science also 40 questions, 35 minutes. Those last two tests, I think we just have to get our students more used to reading those full passages. There's definitely a lot more reading in there. So if you can encourage your students at home to do some extra reading, I think that would help them do better on the ACT as well for some of that transference. there is also an essay portion that does not factor into the composite score. Next, Lori Ritchie is going to talk a little bit about school-wide prep.
Hi, my name is Lori Ritchie. I'm one of the teachers of College Readiness, which meets 5 days a week, which many of your students have enrolled in. So Westmont High School provides ACT prep in a lot of ways. There's intervention classes on Wednesday, and students are not able to get into college readiness. We have an additional prep that's held first semester and second semester. So in the first semester, there will be two classes on Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday enables students to get ready for English and reading, and Thursday is math and science. So students can sign up for both days, or they can sign up for one day or the other, depending on what they're looking to get stronger in, and also what fits into their schedule. So this is a good session for students that are in a spring sport or in the play in the spring. They can prep first semester. We will also have classes second semester, but these are classes that happen first semester. They start at the end of October and they go to the beginning of December. And when your students take a practice test tomorrow, there will be sign-up sheets for them, and they also can get them from Mr. Palmer or in the front office. So these sessions cost $30. If anyone's is not able to pay that, we're able to cover the cost. So these classes are on Tuesday and Thursday from 3 o'clock to 4:30. So if you have any questions, please contact me, Mrs. Ritchie. Thank you. And I'll turn it over back to Anna.
Okay, so if you want to click to the next screen, this one is just explaining what test prep looks like for English classes. Our English benchmark is 18 for the state so far. So we're not completely sure if they're going to change that benchmark. The SAT benchmark was extremely high for English and reading, but this one, hopefully they'll kind of keep in this range of 18. If anything, they might go up to 20 or something like that because Illinois does seem to like to push the envelope a little bit there. But the interventions will look like one Wednesday per month, and then in-class interventions. So in class, we're able to provide that tier one teaching and then some tier two support. The Wednesday interventions are more of a tier two intervention where we're working with small groups of students. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays after school, there's an extended homeroom schedule that we are putting into place this year. We had it a little bit last year, so we're going to use it again this year. I think that's primarily when math and science interventions will take place additionally, but English and reading will mostly meet on the Wednesdays. And then Khan Academy practice is available for 9th through 11th graders. One thing to note, there is never enough Khan Academy practice. Kids can do Khan Academy practice anytime they want at home. It's free. And it usually aligns with Common Core. And I can help any student figure out how to get in there, but you can literally click on ACT Prep and the questions are aligned with the Common Core and with the ACT. So if they ever want to, do that at home on their own, that is encouraged. I would say we've had a small percentage of students who have moved their scores into the green by working on some of that con practice at home because the interventions are not something that is completely appropriate for them. Everyone learns a little bit differently, but 95% of students increase their score by attending interventions regularly. They are not an option. We do require all students to come to interventions who are on that list. Math and English will put out a list, science as well, and the kids will know which rooms they have to go to and which teachers they're working with for intervention. Our college readiness students are usually not required to come to those interventions until second semester, depending. It's kind of a case-by-case basis, but we really want to make sure that the kids are getting the most out of the time that they're in those classes. We will use Master Connect to help us disaggregate the data for English and reading to determine what deficiencies we should be focusing on. So it is more individualized and we are not shooting into the dark. We know exactly what students need to be working on. The next slide is very similar, but it is talking more about reading, and the benchmark for reading is 22 presently. Again, this could change. We don't know for sure. We're hoping that it doesn't go higher, certainly. We think 22 is a little bit ambitious, but our students can definitely do it. I have every bit of confidence in them. We just need the commitment. And the culture at Westmont High School is such that people know that when they're juniors, it's their time to shine and they're going to come to intervention and do the best they can and show what they can do. So I don't anticipate any issues with that, but just be aware that we are doing some of this intervention work at ninth and 10th grade as well, since the skill set needs to be worked on for multiple years. You can't learn everything in 1 year. It's a little overwhelming. So that's why we do it this way. I am going to turn it over to Katrina to talk about the math portion of the test and the intervention.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katrina Zorbis. I'm the math 3 teacher at the high school. So the math benchmark for ACT is 22. It's 60 minutes for 60 questions. So I would say that endurance piece and making it through the test will probably be what our students would need the most, are going to need the most practice on, is definitely time. There's pretty much the very similar interventions to reading and English. There's the Wednesday intervention. I'm going to skip in-class interventions for a second. There's the Thursday after school, extended homeroom schedule. So those are more like smaller groups of students. For Math 3 and college readiness students, we are piloting an ACT prep program. It is through ACT. It is not a third party. So we felt like we wanted to try it out and see how it went. The most important intervention is the one that takes place almost daily in the classroom. So I cannot stress attendance. We want all of our kids there every day because we do ACT based skills every single day. So we want them there. And, you know, all of these other interventions are very important, but they're a bonus to what they see every single day. The Mastery Connect report students have access to at all times. So as they take more practice tests, we're going to start to show them trends in their ACT test. So not just what their score for what they scored every practice test, but trends in what standards they're lacking versus what they're strong in, so that when we do run these interventions with them, we can focus on the specifics of what they're struggling with. So there's a lot of communication between us and the students on those reports, and they can log on to Mastery Connect and show you those at any time. But if there are ever any questions regarding any of these, please email me. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. That's it for math. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Ritchie for science.
Hi, this is Mrs. Ritchie again, and the science classes are very supportive and adding to all the interventions that are taking place at Westmont High School. So the science ACT is questions that your students have been getting ready for forever when they wrote a lab report. So about a third of the test is reading, finding, and getting information from a data table that they've used in every lab they've ever taken to read, find, and interpret information in graphs. And there's a lot of carryover into what they're learning in their math classes. And then the third part is everything involved in a scientific method to support a hypothesis, to form a conclusion, to see what observations would work. So the science teachers are putting passages into every one of their tests, and students are getting a lot of practice in their junior classes. So in addition to this, we have the Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday after school, and hopefully students will be ready for this part of the science part of the ACT, which was not on the SAT test. All right, so at this point, I'll turn it back over to Anna.
Okay, so what should students do? They should give their best effort on all practice assessments. We use this data so much. I cannot even, we use it every single one of our PLC meetings, and we're trying to determine the scope and sequence in order that we can help your students, you know, gain confidence and increase their performance. So please try very hard on all your practice assessments. I have not seen much issue with this. Most kids work extremely hard, and we don't have to remind them. So just, you know, that's one part of it. Participate in college readiness. I know sometimes it can seem like, you know, we're doing so much test prep, but really the bottom line is Common Core is what we teach every day and what everything's aligned to anyways. and there should be transference from these tests into our curriculum daily. So we're not so much teaching to the test, but teaching the skills that will help them do well on the test and build confidence and try to make sure they have the best opportunities. Like the idea with some of this test prep is to make sure that we're opening doors for them. So a higher SAT score, a higher ACT score will do that. Sometimes I know we've been hearing a lot recently about how some colleges have done away with, looking at test scores and they can say they have as an entrance requirement, but that's really not true because as soon as you're enrolled, they need your ACT or SAT score to figure out where you're placed.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure that students have the best opportunity to be placed in classes that gain them credit. If you don't try hard on these and you get placed into a remedial course at 0900, say, you don't get credit for that class and you still have to pay for it. So it's just, we want to make sure we're setting them up for as much success as possible. And we have been very proud with our students in the past, and they have met the very high bar that we set. So just keep doing what you're doing, attend after school prep sessions, seek us out for help. We will come find you anyways. So if you need something, reach out to us. We are here to help. I know this was a lot of information about the ACT, and we are also grappling with changes at the same time. If any of you have questions about what we all just kind of went over, you may, put them in the chat, I think, or ask them, and we can and try to address some of your concerns or questions. Or you could always save them and send them to Katrina or me. I'm the English department chair, and we can, answer the questions as best as we can.
So there were a couple of questions about seniors and whether or not seniors need to take the ACT. From a graduation perspective, if a senior has already taken the SAT exam last school year as a junior, they have met that state of Illinois graduation requirement. So thank you for that question. That's not anything that any of our seniors need to worry about unless they're a senior who for some reason missed taking the SAT last school year. Those seniors do have to take the ACT this school year to meet that high school state of Illinois graduation requirement. So thank you for that question. Are there any other questions about the ACT and or prep that's going to be happening throughout this school year to help our students be successful? I know there was one slide we quickly went over, which was our Universal Testing Day slide. I want to touch on that very briefly. We have opportunities throughout this year. There are 5 universal testing days that our staff had worked on and put together for our students to be successful. Those exams are given as a practice to students, but we encourage obviously our students to take them as seriously as possible so we can receive data from those exams to figure out how to best help our students moving forward. Our English department, math, science, they take a look at this data and they analyze it very quickly. So I want to give a shout out to them in order to give students that feedback as quickly as possible to figure out, well, what do we need to do next to help our students be successful in this specific area? We love the fact that our students get so into this so that they can see how their scores improved and what areas they need to focus on. So thank you for that question as well. Any other questions for Ms. Jakubowski, Ms. Zorbis, Ms. Ritchie before they leave our presentation this evening? Are there any other questions from parents asking questions about test prep? So again, for those of you who might be coming in a little bit late, our seniors are not taking the ACT. If, however, they choose to take a private a private ACT exam on a national date, that is certainly the student's choice. There is a cost for that. Those take place on Saturdays. And I know, Ms. Ritchie, do you want to touch a little, or can you touch a little bit about work that you've done with our seniors who might be interested in taking the ACT?
If any senior is interested, we're more than willing to give them practice tests or give them, mainly they need help in the science part of it. They're ready for the English, they're ready for the math, they're pretty ready for the reading, but the science is the new caveat that was not on the SAT test. So if anybody needs that kind of help, please contact me and we can give them some help.
Absolutely. And I know, again, we're having people come into this presentation at this point. If you're new to the presentation, if you wouldn't mind, those of you who have joined us, to rename your screen to the name of your student, that helps us then follow up with the students following this presentation in case there are additional questions or we need information to share. So if you wouldn't mind putting in the name of your student, that would be most helpful to us. Okay, well, at this time, we're going to make our transition to the next part of our presentation. And that part of our presentation is the financial aid part. I want to make sure that I introduce once again Crystal Sanchez. I'm going to share my screen here just so that we can have her information on the screen. Here we go. And Crystal, thank you so much for being here with us through the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. We're so grateful to have you presenting with us today about the financial aid process. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and it is a graduation requirement for all seniors who attend a public high school in the state of Illinois. So we want to make sure we get this information out in a timely fashion, which is why our presentations shift every year. The beginning part, like this year, is on the ACT, but we always keep financial aid as a component of these evening events. So Crystal, without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. If you could stop sharing your screen so I can share.
Let me do that.
Thank you. Okay,
Go for it.
1 second, everyone, to get my presentation up. I'm not the, okay, let's see. Okay, we got technology. I did not study computer science in college, so bear with me. Technology is not my strong suit. Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, as mentioned, my name is Crystal Sanchez. I work for the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, or ISAC for short. I work in the College of DuPage district. This means I'm working in and around the DuPage County area, helping students, families, and schools with the post-secondary process, or that is life after high school. Today, I will be focusing primarily on the financial aid process. Just a little bit about me. I recently graduated from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, with a degree in psychology and Spanish. I can help with any and all college and financial aid processes. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have on these processes. All my services are completely free to you guys, and I work at an organization called ISAC in a program called the ISAC Core. Just a little bit more about ISAC. We are the College Access and Financial Aid Agency in the state of Illinois. We administer different types of financial aid programs, including grants and scholarships, which I will get into in just a minute. Our mission here at ISAC is to provide students with information and assistance to help make education beyond high school accessible and affordable. Now, I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions throughout this presentation. I do ask that you guys either save your questions till the end of the presentation, or you can drop them in the chat. Many times I will answer your questions during the presentation in the content itself, but if you have any lingering questions, you can drop them in the chat. Come off mute at the end of the presentation and let me know, or I will also have contact info for our representative that you can contact with any questions afterwards. But let's get started. So I don't know how many of you guys have heard of financial aid, but for those who do not know, financial aid is money to help students pay for college. There are many different types of financial aid, so this is not just loans, you guys, I promise. Filling out the FAFSA does not mean you're just gonna get loans. There are a lot of different types of financial aid that come from a lot of different sources. This money can be given, borrowed, or earned, and it can help cover that gap between what you guys can afford to pay for college and that cost of that college. And this comes in two main types. We have gift aid, which is essentially free money given to a student based on a specific circumstance. So we have a grant, which is given to a student based on their financial circumstances. It is for a student who can demonstrate they have need to pay for college. There is also scholarships. So this can be awarded for a variety of reasons. There's a lot of academic scholarships for students with high GPAs. There's a lot of athletic scholarships. So if your student wants to play basketball, football in college, there's a lot of scholarships for that. I don't know how many people in this Zoom are left-handed, but if you are somebody who is left-handed, there is a scholarship just for being left-handed. I kid you not, you guys can look it up. There is scholarships for almost anything you can think of. There is a scholarship out there. The one thing I always tell my students when we're looking at this free type of money is always read the fine print. There is always fine print to read. A lot of times this free money can have conditions and strings attached to it. For example, if a student gets a football scholarship, there generally is requirements, how long they have to play football in college, how much time do they have to dedicate, etc. You always want to be paying attention to those conditions when it comes to that free money, because a lot of times free money will come with those strings attached. So that is something really important for students to always pay attention to when we're looking at this type of gift aid. We also have something that is called self-help aid. So this is essentially money that can either be earned or repaid. Earned money comes in the form of a work-study program. So this is typically a program in where a student can work a job on their college campus to earn their funding to pay for college. So this can be in the library, a lot of times it's in a bookstore, a lot of times it's in the dining halls. Students can have this type of work-study program. It is not found in all universities, so some do have this program, some don't. Each university runs this program slightly differently. So if you have any more specific questions on the work-study program, you can feel free to let me know after this presentation, or you can always contact the university's Office of Financial Aid. And a lot of times their representatives will know a little bit more about how work-study works on their own campus. And finally, we do have loans. This money that needs to be repaid. I'm not going to go super into depth into loans today just because there's so much to loans. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know after the presentation. But just for today, I'm not going to go super in details into loans, but I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. Besides those two types of aids, I always like to tell my students to know where their money is coming from. That is a big, big thing students should always know in general. Where is your money coming from? In the financial aid process, we have 4 main sources of financial aid. So there is the federal government, which is the U.S. Department of Education. The state government, which is us here at ISAC. We also have a handful of grants and scholarships for students. Colleges and universities will also have grants and scholarships for students. A lot of times they will offer this up as kind of an incentive for students to go to their school. So that is a great source of financial aid, are the colleges and universities themselves. And there are also private sources of financial aid. So this can really be anything that doesn't fit in the above categories. So this can be a scholarship from a local church. This can be a loan from a bank. This can be really anything that doesn't fit into any one of the above categories. Ideally, when we're looking at private sources, we want to look at scholarships that can be found a lot of times in the community. Sometimes there's national scholarships. We really want to be looking for those scholarships. And when we are thinking about looking for scholarships, I always tell my students, think about what you guys wear, what do you guys eat, what do you guys buy? How many of you guys drink Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola has a giant scholarship every single year. I'm going to ask this question, though most of my students don't eat this anymore. How many students out there eat Burger King? I usually don't get that many students, but Burger King does have scholarships whether you eat there or not. It still has scholarships for students to help them pay for college. The one thing I say with these big national companies is that they're big national scholarships. So generally it is a lot more money that they're offering, but it also means there is a lot more competition because everybody across the US is trying to compete for the same funding from Coca-Cola, from Burger King. All these big companies usually have a lot more applicants, which is why my tip number 2 for students is you want to look for local scholarships, which have less competition. A lot of times your counselors will have information on local scholarships that can be found in your community. This can be found through churches. A lot of times community organizations will also have money for students. Employers sometimes also have scholarships for students. Again, these local scholarships has less competition. It is a smaller applicant pool, which makes it really easier to earn that funding versus a national scholarship. I have heard some scholarship organizations say they had slots for 5 students to get it locally and only 3 students applied. Obviously, those 3 students who applied got the funding. A lot of times my students will tell me, but it's only like $500. It's only $1,000. But what I always tell my students is if you add 500 plus 500 plus 500 and you keep going, you can get a pretty good chunk of money to help you pay for college. I myself applied for about 4 local scholarships in my community, and I had about $2,000 to start off with helping me pay for college. So I always tell students local scholarships are a really great source of financial aid. The last tip I give for students when we're talking about scholarships is to be careful with scholarship scams. It goes without saying you should not ever have to pay for free money. That is generally a big red flag that is a scam. Free money is free money. You should not have to pay someone to get that free money. If you have any questions with scholarship scams, you can always talk to me or my colleagues, and we are more than happy to help look at scholarships and see whether it is a scam or not. But moving a little bit forward past scholarships, because I know we talked a lot about scholarships, which is that free money, we want to also look at the other free money. The other free money, if as you remember from earlier, is grant money. So this is money, again, that is given to a student based on economic need. And in the state of Illinois, we have two main types of grants. We have the Illinois MAP grant, which is given to a student from Illinois who plans to stay here in Illinois to study, that can demonstrate financial need, and they can give up to $8,400 for these students to go to college here in Illinois. We also have the federal Pell Grant. So this is money given by the federal government for a student who can demonstrate that economic need. They can give about $7,000 to help pay for college. And this can be used anywhere. So this is not just for our state. If your student wants to go to Florida or Texas or Iowa, I really don't know where you guys go these days. You guys always find a college that I have never thought of, and somehow my students always find it. There is that federal Pell Grant money that can be used throughout the nation, not just here in Illinois. However, if a student is planning to stay here in Illinois and they are from Illinois, and they are able to get the maximum of both of these grants, a student can have about $16,000, almost $16,000 per year to help them pay for college. It's a pretty good chunk of money for students to help them pay for college. That is almost 16 grand per year. That is a lot for students who are planning to stay here in Illinois, which is why I always tell my students it is really important to get financial aid applications done, so that way you can potentially get these big grants, because this is a lot of money on the table to help you pay for college. And because of this, we always want to complete the financial aid process sooner rather than later to maximize our funding. And this is kind of the overview of the financial aid process. I'm going to go more in depth into each step. I'm just going to take a little quick water break, and then I will go more in depth on each step. The one thing I always tell my families is that the financial aid process starts and ends with the exact same step. It is going to start with completing an application, and it is going to end with completing an application. This is a process that you will have to repeat every single year your student is in college, so that way they can continue to receive financial aid every single year that they are in college. So they will complete this cycle every single year. The first step is obviously completing that financial aid application. As mentioned earlier, the FAFSA is the most common application for students. It is the free application for federal student aid. Emphasis on the word free. It is entirely free to file this at www.fasfa.gov. It is used to apply for federal and Illinois financial aid here in the state. It is the first step for most students. Normally, this will be available for October 1st. However, seniors, this year, the FAFSA will be out later. It is going to be out December 1st. So for those of you who are seniors, jot this down somewhere. December 1st, the FAFSA will be released. It will no longer be October 1st this year. For students who are juniors, we are hoping that when it comes time for you guys to do your FAFSA senior year, it will go back to October 1st. However, for this year alone, it is going to be December 1st, and students will be filling out the 2025-2026 FAFSA form, which reflects what year they're going to be using that funding. So again, seniors, December 1st, I'm going to say this multiple times so that way you guys remember, and it is the 2025-26 FAFSA. And this is for students to fill out who are U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and there's also a handful of other immigration statuses that are eligible to apply for FAFSA. For those students who are qualifying undocumented students, here in the state of Illinois, we have the alternative application for Illinois financial aid. This is available the same day as the FAFSA. It is again for those qualifying undocumented students. It is used to apply for Illinois financial aid only because undocumented students are not eligible to fill out FAFSA. Here in this state, we have created the alternative application for students in Illinois who are staying in Illinois, and this is only used for Illinois financial aid for those undocumented students. This is, again, also free to file at www.isac.org/alternative application. A student should fill out one or the other of these applications. They should not fill out both. If a student is unsure whether to fill out the FAFSA or the alternative app, I highly recommend talking to your ISAC core representative to find out which is the best for you in your situation. Many times there are other forms that colleges will require. For any students who are interested in Northwestern or University of Chicago, University of Michigan, these schools generally will require a form called CCS profile. I'm not going to go super into depth into that today, but just know those more selective colleges, a lot of the times will have other applications to fill out as well for financial aid. So what do you need to fill out this form? For the FAFSA and alternative app, you are going to need federal tax returns and other records of income and investments. For those of you who are seniors, you and your parents will need your 2023 tax returns. So again, for those who are seniors, we are looking at the 2023 federal tax returns. We are also going to look at the list of colleges students would like to attend. So I always tell my students, please, 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 please have a list ready of any and all colleges you want to attend. You can list up to 20 colleges on the FAFSA and up to 10 on the Alt app. It is so much easier to get this done when you have a complete list of the colleges. If we submit your FAFSA and then have to add colleges, sometimes that can make this process take a little bit longer. So I always tell my students to please have a complete list of any and all colleges they would like to attend to put on their FAFSA and Alt app. For the FAFSA alone, a student will need their social security number. A parent doesn't have to have one. That is completely okay. The student will also need their A number if they are not a U.S. citizen. And both students and parents must, and I'm going to emphasize this really a lot this time, Federal Student Aid FSA IDs. These are crucial to filling out the FAFSA form. A student needs to have one. A parent needs to have one. It is essentially an account that you create with the FAFSA form. Super simple to fill out online. I will show you guys the website towards the end. But I always tell my students, this is probably one of the most important steps to have ready for when we're doing the FAFSA is to create your federal student aid, both for you and your parents as well have to have this federal student aid in order to access the form. Again, this is a very simple account that you can make on the federal government's website. A big note for a lot of my parents, neither application is ever going to ask about your immigration status. A lot of times I have parents who are hesitant to fill out this form because of their immigration status. I really want you guys who are worried about this to remember neither application will ever ask about your parents' immigration status. It is completely not a factor in it. They will not ask about it. So please keep that in mind when you're thinking about what info you may need to provide for these forms. So I know that's a lot of information, and probably the number one question I get from my students, do I have to put my parents on this application? The answer is yes. Your parents do have to go on your application. Most parents, oh my gosh, most students must report parent information until they are the age of 24. Even if the student doesn't live with them, they still have to report their parent. A lot of times I hear my student has their own job, they have their own money. For financial aid purposes, students have to report their parents until the age of 24. If there is an exceptional circumstance and you feel that you are in an exceptional circumstance to this rule, I highly recommend talking to your ISAC core representative so we can help you figure out what to do in those circumstances. For financial aid purposes alone, the only people who are considered parents are biological, adoptive, and step parents if they are married to a biological or adoptive parent. These are the only people who should be providing information on the application. Now, I know for a lot of you guys, your grandma is like your mom, your brother, aunt, uncle, cousin, legal guardians. Unfortunately, for purposes of financial aid, who are not parents are legal guardians, foster parents, grandparents, siblings, aunt, uncles, friends, relatives, or anybody else even if they claim you on your taxes. Again, this has nothing to do with your social emotional connection to someone. However, for financial aid purposes alone, it does have to be a biological, adoptive, or step parent if they are married to a biological or adoptive parent. The second question I get after I talk about parents is which one of my parents should go on the form? And I always say we ask ourselves these three questions. Are these students' biological and adoptive parents married to each other? If the answer is yes, you'll put both parents' information. If the answer is no, then you're going to go to the next question. If your parents are unmarried, do they live together? If the answer is yes, then both parents will go on the form. If the answer is no, we're going to go on to the next question. Did one parent provide more financial support for the student in the last 12 months? If the answer to this question is yes, that parent's information and their spouse, if they are remarried, is going to go on the form. If the answer is no, let's say that you and your ex-spouse have equal amount of financial support for the student, we're then going to take the parent with a greater income and asset. I know this is a lot of information to process, and this can be very personal depending on your circumstances. You can always feel free to reach out to your ISAC core representative if you have more questions on which parent in your personal situation should be on the FAFSA and alternative application. Again, please feel free to reach out to us. I know this is something that is really personal, so you can always feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email, and we are more than happy to help you figure out what would work best for your circumstance. But after we're done putting all this information, we obviously have to sign our applications. This is why for the FAFSA, we want that FSA ID. Not only does that allow you to access your application, it is also the electronic signature. Students and parents both need their own. You can create it at this website right here. I always say, if you guys created a Facebook, I know students, that's ancient, but Facebook still exists. If you created Instagram, TikTok, anything like that, you can create that studentaid.gov. It is a pretty simple process, and we here at ISAC are more than happy to help you guys create that. For the alternative application, you do not need to create an account ahead of time. What they're going to do is they're going to ask you to enter you and your parents' email. They will send you a PIN number via email by ISAC, and you can use that to sign your application for the alternative app. In both cases, it is really important that student and parent have their own emails. Please, 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 please have your own email. If your parent does not have their own email or the student does not have their own personal email, please get going on creating that. I promise it makes this a whole lot easier if parents and students have their own email to either create the account for FAFSA or to receive that PIN number for the alt app. Okay. So we put in all this information. I talked about all this data. The number one question I get afterwards is, what are they doing with my information? What the FAFSA and the alt app is going to do with the information you put in is they are going to calculate something called the Student Aid Index. This is a number that reflects what you can contribute towards your education. It does not mean that is how much you are going to have to pay for your student's college. It is just estimating roughly how much you have to offer. This can be a negative number, and it is used to determine eligibility for federal, Illinois, and a lot of times institutional aid as well. I'm going to skip step 2 for a moment and go right to step 3. How do colleges calculate how much a student needs? Is what they're going to do is they're going to take the cost of their college. I don't know how many of you guys have Google searched how much it costs to go to the colleges your student is interested in. More than likely, you guys saw a really big number. I know that University of Chicago is about, what was it, like $72,000 a year, something like that. That's a big number. I promise you guys, the number you see in Google is not necessarily what you are going to have to pay for that college. What they're going to do is they're going to take that, in this example, $72,000. They're going to look at how much you can contribute. So again, they're going to look at that number, the Student Aid Index right here. They're going to look at how much you can contribute and plug it into the circle. And that will allow the colleges to calculate how much you need to help you pay for college. The colleges are going to try to meet your financial need with all the available aid they have. It is not guaranteed that they can meet this need, but they are going to try. And all available aid will be packaged into something called a financial aid offer. This is essentially like a letter that states how much financial aid you're receiving from each college. Each college will send this out to the students, generally via a student email or a student portal. On occasion, before they can send out these offers, you may have to verify some of the data you put into your application. Don't worry about this. This is a very common process. A lot of colleges have that 1 in every 3 applications has to be verified. They may ask you to submit some additional documentation. You just always want to make sure to be submitting only the information they're asking for, submit it on time, and keep copies of everything. I'm not going to go super in depth into this process just because this does tend to happen a little bit later. But if you have any questions on it, you can always feel free to contact your ISAC core rep. But for right now, I want to focus a little bit more on those financial aid offers. Once a student receives that offer, letting them know how much it's, financial aid they're getting, they want to make sure to compare their different offers to make an informed decision. How can they do this? Here is an example below. Before we start going over the chart, what I like to ask the families is this. Just looking at this column right here, this first COA, which is at cost of college, which college looks like it's the most expensive? In this case, College C has the highest cost. They cost $39,000 a year. College B in this example cost $27,000, and College A cost $13,000. In this example, the family has $3,000 to offer for contributing to their students' education. But then let's look at what other aid is being offered. College C is going to give the student $35,000. College B is going to give their student $20,000, and College A is going to give the student $5,000. When we look at how much they have left to pay, for College A, they have about $5,000 that they still need. College B, they have $4,000. In College C, they only have to pay about $1,000 remaining. The big point I like to make on this page is just because a college looks like it is the most expensive option when you put it in Google, it does not mean that is how much they're going to have to pay, and it does not mean that this is their cheapest option. In this case, even though College C costs the most out of the 3 options, this is also the college that is the cheapest option for the student because they are giving the most financial aid. This is why it is really important to wait for those financial aid offers to make that final decision. And it is equally important never to eliminate an option for a college just because you typed in Google and it says it's really expensive. A lot of times financial aid can and will help bring down that cost. So kind of wrapping things up a little bit, once you know which decision you want to make, you want to accept the offers from the colleges, letting them know you're super excited, you're ready to be in the lineup. For those of you who know, thank you. It's a quick plug of my alma mater, but I'll leave it alone. You always want to let them know that you are planning to attend that specific college. It'll also serve as confirmation that you want to receive that federal aid or that financial aid they're offering. You also want to let the colleges know that, no thanks. Thanks for the offer, but no thanks. This is really important because it lets the colleges know that you aren't going to attend that college, and it frees up that financial aid that you aren't going to use at that college that they can potentially give to another student who might really want to attend that school you don't want to go to. Once you decide and respond, a lot of times colleges have some additional processes, so you may have to accept your financial aid offer. You might have to pay some enrollment and housing fees. Quick tip, there are waivers for these fees. If they're needed, you can always talk to the admissions office about getting waivers if it is needed in your case. Students, if you guys don't remember anything else I said throughout this presentation, please remember this last bullet point. Check your college email and student accounts to see pending tasks. I cannot tell you how many times I have had my students email me the day before classes start asking what else they have to do to get set up for college. We will log into their student email. 90% of the time, they will have emails as early as March or May, letting them know all the tasks they were supposed to have done. So please, guys, get in the habit now of checking your student emails and student accounts. It is really important to help keep you on task of things that you have to do, especially in college. It really does help keep you on task by checking your college email and student accounts. Get into that habit, please, 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 now, so that way you're ready for later. Finally, we want to repeat this process every single year. This is not a one-time process. You do have to file a FAFSA or an LTAP every year you attend college to continue receiving that financial aid. What I always tell families is circumstances change. I have seen families that have lost their income. I have seen new family members be born. I have seen divorces. I have unfortunately seen parents pass away. All these things affect your eligibility for financial aid. So again, we want to do this process every year, not just because we want to continue financial aid, but I tell my students life is lifing even while you're in college. And when these circumstances change, we want to make sure that it's getting reflected in your financial aid as well. Some final tips and reminders: apply as soon as possible when these applications become available. Again, seniors, December 1st. Repeat after me. December 1st, seniors. This year, it is not October. If somebody says October, that is wrong. X and A. It is December 1st this year for seniors, and you are filling out that 2025-2026 FAFSA and LTAP. These are completely free to complete. Do not pay anyone. Again, you're doing either the FAFSA or the LTAP, not both. Keep track of the deadlines. Missing a deadline can and will delay your financial aid. So please, please, please be keeping track of these deadlines. Some colleges may ask that you have the FAFSA completed earlier than others. College A might ask for FAFSA to be done in March. College B might ask for it in May. It is really important to be keeping track of deadlines. It is never too early to apply for scholarships. This is a great source of financial aid for students. And again, reapply every single year that you are going to be in college. We here at ISAC have a lot of different resources for students to help them out. We have our student portal website, which has a lot of great college planning and financial aid videos. It also has information about the scholarship programs we offer for teachers. Students want to be teachers, for veterans, all kinds of good stuff can all be found on our website. We also have a list of trusted websites. So these are the websites you guys should be sticking on for up-to-date, free, trusted information. Anything with ending in .gov, both studentaid.gov and FAFSA.gov. This is the federal government's websites on financial aid. When you see isac.org, that is the state government's websites. Here's our student portal, and this is our alternative application where you can find that particular application. Please be careful of scam sites. There's a lot of sites that try to mimic these sites. One of the most common right now is studentaid.com. That's a no-go. .gov.org, isac.org, studentaid, or FAFSA.gov. These are trusted websites. Please, please, please be careful of scams. You should never pay anyone to do your FAFSA or LTAP, and you should never have to pay to fill it out. Finally, for those students who are first generation, we define it at ISAC as a student whose parents did not complete college. They may have started, they didn't complete it, or maybe they completed it in another country, but they did not complete it here. They can sign up for our First Generation Scholars Network. Again, this will allow students to connect with other first-gen students. They can join events specifically designed for first-gen students. They can receive important updates. This is probably my favorite feature. We can text directly to you important updates, like when the FAFSA was released, and you can text us back with any questions. Everything is completely free to students. Again, this is the first generation. It's a subjective term, so some colleges may define it differently. However, for purposes of our first gen network, if a student's parents did not complete college or they're completed college but in another country, they can be considered first gen. We don't normally check to see who's first gen or not. So please feel free to join our network to get our services. Again, this is all completely free for students. Finally, we do have a communication list that you can get signed up for. For those of you who have the Strive Scan app, you can scan this QR code to get put on our communication list. And if any further questions, you can always contact your ISAC core representative. Although I work in the College of DuPage district, I am not you guys' main ISAC core representative. Your main representative is my district partner, Angelo Brown. He unfortunately could not be here tonight, but he is the person to go to with any and all of your financial aid or college app questions from here on out. This is his contact info on the screen. Feel free to reach out to him with any further questions after this presentation. He is your main ISAC core rep. I'm just being borrowed for the night, but he is going to be your primary rep. For anybody who needs Spanish speaking assistance, that would be with me. So anybody who needs Spanish speaking help, I can provide that service. Otherwise, Angela will be your person to go to. Thank you very much.
Crystal, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take a minute and just reiterate one of the things that you said about emails, because I think this is something that is true to all of our students, whether they are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, or seniors. We want to encourage our students to check their emails all the time. And parents who are joining us, please encourage your student to check their email all the time as well. There have been circumstances that I personally am aware of where a student received an offer and didn't know about it, received scholarship information and the deadline passed. This is so important to continue getting in the habit as early on as freshman year of checking that email and making sure that that email is up to date and current. We obviously students use their CUSD 201 email when they are with us in school. But for purposes of college applications and scholarships, we encourage them to use personal email addresses. And we do this for the very fact that after students graduate from Westmont High School, there's a limited period where they can transfer information out, but their accounts then, their CUSD 201 accounts are turned off and inactivated. So again, getting into the habit of checking both email accounts is very, very critical. And I know with social media these days, I think students are better at this than we are. Personally, I have 6 email addresses and I check all of them all the time. But granted, I'm not on TikTok, so that's a whole different thing. But Crystal, I truly appreciate you taking your time tonight to share this presentation with us. There were a few questions I know that were asked of you. Did you receive those in the chat?
Yes, I did. So I was about to go over them. If you guys still have time, I'm more than happy to go over the questions I saw. So one question is, do we have a list of unusual grants and scholarships? I do not have a complete list, but there are several national scholarship websites. We here at ISAC partner with a website called Apply, but you can also go on scholarships.com, FastWeb, I forgot what the name is. I'll drop them in the chat when I get a moment. But there are national scholarship finders where you can find all of these kind of odd-end scholarships. A lot of times these national scholarship databases can have some great resources and more information on those like odd-end ones.
And on our Westmont High School counseling website, if you click on college and career, and then on the left-hand side, click on scholarships, we break down the different type of scholarships that are available. The institutional scholarships that Crystal was speaking about, the local scholarships that at Westmont High School become available every single January. So those are all listed there from last school year. So if students and parents want to check out what was available last year, those are all posted there. They will be renewed in January. And then the last link that we have on there are some of those, Crystal, like you mentioned, unusual scholarships or other local scholarships we may have heard about that are not specific to Westmont High School, but are specific to our greater community. So we list those there as well. So all 3 types of scholarships are gone into detail on our counseling website.
Awesome. And then I saw, what are the requirements for the big grants? So each requirement has slightly different, and you can always go on either isac.org or studentaid.gov for more specific requirements on the 2. Generally and a little bit more about the MAP grant, that is generally looking for a student who is from Illinois. So that is a student who has been going to school here for at least 3 years before they graduate high school. So if they went to first grade, went back to their country, came back here, and they did another 2 years in high school, that counts as 3. A lot of times students will get here their freshman year, and as long as they've attended 3 years before graduating high school here in Illinois, they can get that funding. It is also going to look for a student who is graduating from Illinois. So they have to have graduated from here in Illinois to get that MAP grant. And they also have to have resided with a parent or guardian here in Illinois and their parents or guardian must have residency here in Illinois to get that MAP grant funding. That is, again, state funding. I'm not 100% sure on the Pell Grant ones off the top of my head, but you can always look at studentaid.gov for more information, or you can feel free to contact Angelo afterwards. And Angelo would be more than happy to explain to you a little bit more about the big grant and the requirements. These are the things I can think of off the top of my head. But for more specific details, feel free to reach out to Angelo and be more than happy to help. I also see, do parents and students need to make their own account for the FSAID? Yes, please, please, please. There is going to be a student section and a parent section. Students, you are going to invite your parents to kind of be a part of your FAFSA, but you are going to use their FSAID information, and then your parents will be sent an invite to enter the form, but they can only enter it with their FSAID. So parents and students do need to have one. Parents, if you yourself did the FAFSA online, or maybe you have an older student who already did the FAFSA, and you more than likely already have an account. But if this is like your first student and you yourself did not go to college or did not fill out FAFSA, you do need to have that FSAID graded to go access your section of that form. So this is really, really important. I always tell students, at minimum, please have this at least a week before you do the FAFSA, have that account created, just because I promise it makes it so much easier having that account good and ready well before you start the FAFSA, because will take a lot longer if we have to do it the day of. So this is definitely something you can get on top of, and student and parents do have to have their own. And then the last question I see, is the FAFSA form the same as last year? The FAFSA form had a lot of problems last year. So I'm trying to think carefully how I word this. It is the same form. It is the same design. It is not the same year. So last year's form was 2024-25. This year, it is going to be 25-26. The government has said, this is the federal government, they have stated that they are going to focus on fixing a lot of their issues. That is why they have decided to postpone the release till December. They said they're going to try their best to fix all the glitches. This is not guaranteeing they will. Please take this with a grain of salt. We are hoping that a lot of those glitches will get fixed and it will be a lot easier for students this year. Another thing I've been telling families, a lot of us here, this is my second year at ISAC, so I saw the whole thing last year. We saw that whole release a lot of times, especially some of our more well-versed core members. A lot of times we have seen the same issue 1,001 times. So a lot of times, if I haven't seen the issue, somebody within our organization has seen it. So we have gotten pretty good at finding different fixes for a lot of those issues. But again, we really are hoping that it is a lot easier for you guys this year. The government is saying it is supposed to be, and we are all kind of crossing our fingers that they're going to keep their word on that. If anybody, please, 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 if anybody is still struggling with 2024-25, please reach out to Angelo. We can help you still complete it. There is still time to complete it. So if you have an older student who is still having trouble, I highly recommend reaching out to Angelo. We can try our best to help you out, fix whatever issue you had with last year's form. We are currently still working with a lot of students from last year. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us with help with last year's form as well.
And any of our students who are early graduates that are seniors this year, they are going to be filling out that previous form. And that's something that Angelo can help you and your family with at this point. So you'd be filling out the 24-25 FAFSA as compared to the 25-26 FAFSA.
Okay. And the last question is, oh my gosh, should parents create FAFSA accounts before student invites parents, or create once invited? You can kind of do both. I think it is easier to have that account already made, because the invite does have to match exactly what is on that FSAID. So if you have that account already created, you can just, the info already, you have that info in front of you, you can just easily put down what's on that FSA directly into that invite. I do find that that is a little bit easier, but you can create the account after the student invites you. And that invite will pretty much just wait there until your account is fully made and verified, and then it'll let you access that invite. You can do it either way. I just find it easier when all the accounts are already created in one go, just because it makes it less of a delay. It makes it a lot easier just to have it done before you even start it, both accounts made. Anybody, I think that's all the chat questions, but if anybody has any specific questions they want to ask out loud, feel free to unmute and I'm more than happy to answer.
And on the screen again, I'm going to share my screen as well one more time so that we can have Crystal's information posted here. So if you wanted to take down this information, I'm going to leave this up for a minute. This presentation has been recorded, as I mentioned at the beginning of the evening. This presentation will be shared out with students in their Google Classrooms following this evening. The contact information for Angelo Brown is listed here next. So I wanted to make sure I took a minute and also left his contact information up on this screen. He has worked with many of our families in the past, especially last year, as Crystal mentioned, with some of the federal drama that took place. We hope that this year that will not take place, and we want to make sure that, as Crystal mentioned, the federal government sticks to their promises. So we are looking forward to a successful FAFSA season for our students and families. So Angelo Brown's contact information is listed here. And last but not least, I know throughout the evening, I anticipated a few questions about this. So I am not going to take any time this evening to talk about our district referendum, but I wanted to share what is posted on our district website about the CUSD 201 referendum. There are town hall meetings that are coming up. There was one this evening. There have been a couple already that have taken place. The next one is taking place at 5:30 on October 8th, again at Manning Elementary School, which is where the previous ones have taken place. On October 15th, the referendum meeting, the town hall will be taking place at 6:30, and that will be at the Westmont High School auditorium. So if you are interested in attending, you can collect information there. The direct website is posted here, and there's also a QR code that you can scan on the bottom to get more information. So I appreciate those of you who have throughout this forum asked questions about this, but I want to refer you to this website for more information, as well as to the upcoming town hall meetings, because I've attended them personally and they do cover a lot of information. Our district has been very transparent. So I want to make sure I take a minute to share that. And then last but not least, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. I know this was a lot of information. Crystal, thank you again for joining us. On behalf of everyone at Westmont High School, the information that you and the Illinois Student Assistance Commission provides is truly invaluable. And you and Angelo Brown are such fantastic resources to us and our students. We are very, very grateful to you. So parents, if you have any other follow-up questions, students, the same, please do not hesitate to reach out to me personally or to anyone else who has presented this evening. All right. And without further ado, I will bid you all a good night. And students, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at Westmont High School.